The one-day series deviated from the chronology of its source material, consequently making Dexter and Emma's epic love story even more devastating. Dexter and Emma's crushing tale first emerged in David Nichols' 2009 best-selling novel of the same name before Netflix set its sights on adopting the events of the book into a powerfully felt limited series. It turned out to be a profoundly sound decision, as the series was greatly praised, evident in One Day earning a 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and became an instant hit for Netflix, despite the infuriating tragic conclusion Nichols' novel foretold. Indeed, the critically received Netflix show made plenty of big changes to the One Day novel, but, unfortunately, none that could prepare audiences for Dexter and Emma's ill-fated romance. Near the end of the One Day show, a slow-burn course of will-they-won't-they events, Emma dies in a tragic accident, destroying all hope of her and Dexter's happily ever after. Emma's death happened similarly in Nichols' source material, and while the Netflix series had a chance to soften the novel's big blow with some creative liberties, it instead made a change that made One Day's saddest twist even worse. Netflix's One Day gave Dex and Emma less time together than the book did. Netflix cut short the chronology of Dexter and Emma's love story by 2 years. Beginning at the same time in 1988, both the One Day series and the novel chronicled Dexter and Emma's lives over approximately 20 years. However, in several instances, the One Day series timeline went rogue from its source, most likely to accommodate the essential moments of their narratives while avoiding book scenes that weren't necessary to depict in the TV conceptualization of their love story. Generally, most of the show's timeline tweaks were unnoticeable or didn't impact the leading characters too much, though one change cut short the chronology of Dexter and Emma's love story by 2 years. In the novel, Emma dies in a freak bike accident in 2004, whereas in the series, Emma dies 2 years earlier, in 2002. Emma's unanticipated death was brutal and devastating in both instances, but to an even greater degree in the series, as it made their time together as an established couple much shorter. Gauging off the Netflix series timeline, Dexter and Emma spent as little as 3 years together in a romantic relationship with one another before Emma tragically passed away. Emma's death happening earlier changed One Day's ending. Emma's early death affects Dexter's healing process. Emma rolling her bike while talking on the phone in One Day. The One Day series used its falling action and conclusion periods to depict how Dexter dealt with life after Emma's death. Similarly to the novel, the One Day series wrapped around 2007 to 2008, 20 years after Dexter and Emma spent their pivotal first day together. Despite following relatively true to the concluding timeline of the book source, the series changed, however subtly, the pace and portrayal of Dexter's healing process by having Emma's death transpire earlier in the course of One Day's events. The One Day show afforded Dexter a little more leeway to grieve and heal and audiences the time to see him through it in the span of the TV series format. Instead of depicting 2 more years of their doomed romance, One Day opts to better Dexter's tragic ending by focusing on his healing journey and rounding out his character arc. The series did so by having Dexter speak to a hallucination of Emma's ghost in a moment of closure and letting him and One Day audiences relish in the memories of Dexter and Emma's past. Why Emma had to die in One Day. One Day is not just a romance, but a story of fate. Ambika Maud as Emma smiling in One Day. It may seem unsympathetic to the customary tropes of the romance genre, but Emma's death had to happen, at least according to One Day's showrunner Nicole Taylor. While explaining why the One Day series kept the tragic death of Emma instead of telling the story differently, Taylor noted that changing the catastrophe would undermine the overall impact of the piece. More than just a romance, Dexter and Emma's story is a testament to the power of fate and how lives can change in just one day. Dexter and Emma's lives altered forever when they spent one platonic day together, giving rise to a deep-rooted friendship and an eventual yet remarkable love story. For Dexter, One Day's sentiment was harder felt, as his life once again changed drastically after losing his great love so suddenly. The One Day series may have worsened his trauma by shortening his overall time with Emma, but in the end, it still drove the point home that nothing in life ever happens as expected and to cherish the present moments while they are available.